Our case is Honig versus Doe. Agenda, expectations, warm-up, objective. Key terms, case context, background information, court decision, implications of the case, one-page handout, wrap-up assessment. Expectations, microphones on mute unless you are answering a question. One person speaks at a time. Participate and engage in the lesson. Have a positive mental attitude.
Warm-up scenario. Your child or student who is emotionally disturbed is constantly teased and bullied in school. Your child or student has had enough of the teasing and reacts. Your child or student punches his or her peer in the face. The consequence, expulsion. As a parent of a child with a disability, how would you feel and what would you do? As a special educator, what would you do?
Objective, students will be able to understand and explain how Honig versus Doe has shaped special education policy.
Key terms: education for the handicapped children, also known as EHA, Students Placement Committee, SPC, San Francisco United School District, and the stay put provision where students must remain in their school placement throughout their review proceedings.
Background and case information. This case is based on 2 disabled students in the San Francisco Unified School District. One student, identified as Joe Doe, was an emotionally disturbed 17-year-old who had difficulties controlling his impulses and anger. In November of 1980, he responded to the taunts of a peer by choking the student, which left visible injuries on the student's neck. And he also kicked out a window as he was being taken to the principal's office. Jack Smith, the second student, was also emotionally disturbed. Smith reacted to stress by becoming verbally hostile and aggressive. In middle school, his behavior escalated. He stole money from his classmates and made sexual remarks towards female students. Information about the case. Doe was suspended for 5 days. The principal recommended his case to the Student Placement Committee for expulsion. On the day that the suspension was supposed to end, CPC informed his mother of John's possible expulsion and that his suspension would continue until the process was completed. Doe, who was qualified for special education services under the Education of the Handicapped Act, filed suit against San Francisco Unified School District. Doe alleged that dependent expulsion proceedings triggered the stay put provision and that educators violated his rights and suspended him indefinitely. The stay put prohibits state or local school authorities from excluding disabled children from the classroom for dangerous or disruptive behaviors during pendency of review. Jack was also suspended for 5 days for the inappropriate remarks. CPC recommended Smith's expulsion. They arranged for a hearing and extended his suspension until it was completed. Smith was homeschooled during the proceedings. After learning of Doe's case, Smith protested the school's actions and joined Doe's suit.
Court decision. The Supreme Court held that the EHA prohibits the expulsion of handicapped students for dangerous or disruptive behaviors that are a manifestation of their handicap, and that expulsions under any situation constitute a change in placement that trigger the procedural safeguards of the EHA. Where a student poses an immediate threat to the safety of others, officials may temporarily suspend him or her for up to 10 days. Prior to recommending that the expulsion is in order, an IEP team must consider the results of an independent evaluation. If it is determined that the misbehavior is not a manifestation of a handicap, the student may be expelled and the district may cease providing all services, a change from the several previous rulings of the federal law. However, the stay put provisions of the EHA remains in effect regardless of how dangerous a student's behavior may be, and no exceptions to this ruling were allowed. Implications for families. Protection from excessive punishment for behaviors associated with their disability. Schools must seek out other discipline methods before expulsion, and education is expected to happen for all students as mandated by state laws. Implications for educators. Administrators need to share responsibility for special education students and staff. Train principals for the new laws for discipline of students with disabilities. Use the IEP document to outline disciplinary procedures, such as a FBA or a BIP. Develop positive alternatives to an out-of-school suspensions, such as a calm down corner or in-school suspension, and develop databases on student disciplinary action.
Wrap up an assessment. Is John Doe a middle school student who is emotionally disturbed or has an emotional disability? True or false? If you guessed false, then you're correct. Does the stay put order allow students to leave their current school placement? True or false? Well, if you put false, then you're also correct. During the suit, Doe or Jack will qualify under the Individuals with Disability Educational Act. True or false? If you've chosen true, then you are correct. How did the court's ruling in Honig versus Doe impact the school system in the U.S.? Think about that. And thank you for listening to our video.